God puts us in nations, in places, not by mistake, but to do a job. What if we opened our eyes to the needs of our colleagues, of our leaders, of our subordinates, and we were a priest on their behalf? Welcome to the Repurposing Business Podcast. My name is Brett Johnson.
And I'm Len Johnson.
And we're going to be talking about how to get our business into God's business. Our subtext is Let My Business Go, and we'll have guests from around the world. So thank you for joining us this week and every week on the Repurposing Business Podcast. Well, welcome to a special edition of the BrettJohnson.biz podcast. And today we're talking about time. You could call this It's About Time, and it's a special edition because I have a special guest today, but she's not with me. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. And the guest is my mother, and she's not here because this last year she passed away. This is my first year without a mother. Sounds quite dramatic. But the podcast title is It's About Time, and not time in the normal sense of what we understand, but the Greek word tee-mai, and it's pronounced T-E-E-M-A-Y if you like, or M-A-I, tee-mai. And tee-mai means honor, respect. It's the word that's used in Ephesians chapter 6 when it says, honor your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. And we've heard the phrase, honor your father and your mother, but what does it mean? Well, in the Greek world, there was an understanding that this was one of the highest Greek virtues, to give to somebody honor, respect, to respect their position, to respect what they mean in your life, to respect their accomplishments. But there's a difference between what happens in the general system, if you like, and what happens in the kingdom of God. In the system out there, honor is something that you earn. Respect is something that you deserve. It's something that you hold back until the person is worthy. So it's something that you hold back, and in fact we're taught to guard our hearts, guard our emotions, and to set boundaries. These are things that are part of the normal system that we operate in. Now, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see the chalk talk that I'm giving on the whiteboard. But in the kingdom of God, honor is actually something that's given. It's not earned. It's something that is bestowed. It is something that actually is a reflection of the heart of the person giving honor, not the value, the worth, the stature of the recipient. So it's a matter of the heart. Now, why is this important? Because in life we see that we go through phases. And if you imagine the time span of your life over here, going through different segments of your life. There's your childhood years, let's call them your teen years, your university years, your work years, and then parenting years. Then let's call them what they call your golden years, and I'm going to add another one over here, which is your royal years. So think about these as major eras in your life. Major eras in your life. So you start off as a child. What's your honor like for your parents? Well, it's very high. Then you get into your teen years, and it drops because all of a sudden, of course, teenagers are smarter than their parents, so it drops. And then you go to university, and it actually gets destroyed. All of a sudden, there are professors who know more than your parents. They tell you that what your school teachers taught you was wrong. They are the fountains of truth, and the stuff you heard before was error, and honor is attacked. Then your work years, you have to go out and get a job, and it goes up a bit because you realize that for 30, 40 years, your parents have been doing work that they didn't necessarily enjoy to put clothes on your back, a roof over your head, food that you can eat, and so on. And then you become a parent, and it goes up significantly because you realize several things. One is how you love your children, and all you want is the best for them. And as those kids go through the early childhood years over here, they love you. They think that you're awesome. Dad is the hero. Mom is the winner. And as time goes by, you realize that it's not going to always be that way. But in the parenting years, you have a greater appreciation for your own parents. And then in the golden years, you realize that many of the things that you might have held back on your parents, you might have withdrawn your affection because they didn't deserve it. You realize in your golden years that they were doing their best, the parents were doing their best, and should your parents get to a ripe old age into the 80s and 90s, then there is effectively a real understanding of the value of the history. These are people who've lived nearly a century, been through all sorts of things, so the honor increases. So this looks a little bit like the Nike swish over here, just do it, but it goes like that generally, the cycle of honor in a normal life. Now, let's be aware that actually this attack, if you like, on honor that we see in the university years over here is now exacerbated. It's expanded. It's something that is beyond just those few years, because what happens is nowadays, because of trends in economies, trends in time, not the fault of the generation, but with millennials, Gen Z, etc., and it's been this way for quite a while, the teen type years, the college type years have extended out over a period of time. And we have phrases like kidults and twixers and tweeners, people who don't get into what's nowadays a verb, adulting. They don't get into adulting because of all sorts of economic, social and other factors. What does that do? That potentially expands the period of distrust. That's what happens. And then there's a newish development, although it's been in the works for decades, to take this distrust of parents and push it backwards right into the childhood years. Of course, advertisers, people who are making movies, and others, intellectuals, have been really turning up the volume on parental distrust in the teenage years. But now it's reached all the way back in, so that, who are you? There's an attack on an identity. A young child at 5 years old, 6 years old, is being taught theories and about who they are. Are they a boy? Are they a girl? What is their identity? Where do they come from? What did their forefathers do? There's really an attack on identity. So there's been a massive peddling of distrust that goes both forwards and backwards. Let's go back to the verse we're considering for today, which is from Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. Honor your father and your mother. Why do you do it? Because they're honorable? No. Some people actually have what I call AAA parents. AAA parents. And AAA parents is not a good thing. Normally AAA is a good thing. But some people have AAA parents. They were absent, they abandoned them, or worse, they were abusive. Whichever is worse. I don't know. Those are all pretty bad. And so AAA parents, you can add a fourth A, which is alcoholic, and it becomes a problem, or addicted. And so some people didn't have fantastic parents. But the principle of honor reaps a reward. So this one says, honor your father and your mother. This is the first promise, or first commandment that has a promise. What is the promise? The promise is that you will have a good life. You will live long. Why? Because if we do not honor our father and our mother, our elders, if we do not pay respect and be reverent, if we do not choose to do it, not because they're perfect, because there's always a gap between our parents and perfection. Perfect parent is God the Father, and there's always a gap, but we choose to look through our parents to God the Father and to give honor. If we do not do that, we set ourselves up as the judge. I am the judge of my parents. I am the one who's the arbiter of their character and performance. And when I decide they get up to enough of a level, then I will honor them. Rather than saying, my parents are not perfect. No parents are perfect. And I'm going to choose to honor them, choose to respect them, because it does something to my heart. It does something to my mind. And the result is peace in my body, peace in my mind, peace in my emotions, and health that comes through. It's a shalom, if you like, that I extend to my parents regardless of who they are. And not because of who they are. I remember I was in the army in South Africa, 17 years old. I went to a major who was running a section that I was dealing with, and I complained to him about the non-commissioned officer, the corporal, the sergeant major, who probably had, I don't know, the IQ of a gnat and the manners to go with it. Excuse me. And I said to the major, you know, yeah, this is a problem. I'm having a problem with this. And he said to me, Brett, respect the rank, not the person. It's not about the person wearing the clothes. It's about the rank. It's about the fact that your parents are your parents. You didn't come into the world through immaculate conception. You came into the world because you had parents. This last week, I saw a horrible sign that is an indicator of our times. The woman was holding a sign, or the person was holding a sign that said, I wish my mother had aborted me. Well, they didn't, and they're your mother, they're your father. And today is the day before Mother's Day. The silent guest is the many mothers who have passed on. What do mothers want when they get to their royal years, to their golden years? What do they want? They want to know that their parents think they did a good job. You know, in the early days, parents pour affirmation on children. You're wonderful. You're amazing. You can be anything. You can do anything. Honor your father and mother. Turns around and says, you've been a great father. You've been a great mother. I respect you. I appreciate you. Thank you for what you've been through. Thank you for what you did for me. Thank you for pouring out your life for me. Thank you for putting your life on hold for decades so that I can have a life, so that I can have a start in life. But we've been trained to be critical, to be victims, to be negative. This one commandment, this one instruction out of the Old Testament repeated in the New Testament, honor your father and mother. Tee-mai. It's about time. Tee-mai. Tee-mai, your mother and your father. Go and look it up. See what it means. Get an appreciation for it. Practice it, and it'll change your life. It'll change you from being somebody who's hard done by. My parents didn't give me enough money, didn't give me enough affection, didn't give me enough connections, didn't give me enough education, didn't give me capital to buy my first house. They don't owe you all of these things. You have a Father in heaven to whom you can relate. And where there's gaps with your parents, which there will be, it can create an insecurity. And that insecurity can manifest in rebellion or rejection, one or the other. And if we go down the road of rebellion or rejection, we're buying into the world system. And the opposite, the kingdom system, is to say, it doesn't matter what my parents are like. I honor them. That's what I do. I find the ways in my culture, in my time, in my language, to honor your parents. And isn't it ironic for the English speakers that the word honor, tee-mai, is actually the same word for time? Give your parents some time. Some parents say, my children don't give me the time of day. Well, give your parents the gift of time. Spend some time with them without looking at your cell phone, without being hurried, without, WhatsApping and chatting with your friends, laughing, giggling, looking at YouTubes while you're sitting in their living room. give them the focus of quality time. Today, as I said, is my first Mother's Day without my mother. There are questions I would like to have asked her. We had long conversations, but there are always things. There are things that go to the grave with your parents. I lost my father many, many years ago. He was about my age when he died. And there are many, many things that you miss when your parents go to the grave. Yes, we have a hope that we will see them in eternity. This isn't a morbid thing. My mother, my father, they've passed to eternity, and soon I will be with them. That's fine. In the meantime, while on earth, do the right thing. Honor your father and your mother. So this has been a Chalk Talk version. If you're only getting this on audio, I recommend you go over to my YouTube channel and you'll find the different playlists of the podcast. This one is in the most recent one. Pick it up there and hopefully you can see some of what I've sketched out here on the whiteboard if you're looking at it on a big enough screen. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today.